Hi there, Paul Collins from SkillsTx with an update on a new feature that we've added over the weekend that's going to make a really big difference to the user experience for people going through the self-assessment. We've been using a lot of data analysis, particularly since version 8 came out, that's allowed us to be much more precise in the way that we present surveys, and that's going to be based on the digital experience of each person. You can carry on as normal, so we've not made any changes that will impact if you're already running surveys, but certainly for any that you run in the future, we've now added a few different options. So first thing, with regard to the administration console, we've now got a breakdown in terms of the main menu here to have skills. We have assigning participants and a separate drop-down menu for the emails, tracking and reports. So if we go into the assigned participants, quite a difference here. I'm going to run through each one just really quickly because there's a lot of detail actually built into the system if you need it. So the biggest change is that we can allow self-assessees to assign themselves to the level of experience that they believe they have. So instead of sending out the survey that includes the whole of Sophia, you send out a tiny little survey, they answer one question, and that question will then determine what the follow-on surveys will be. That, we believe, is the best option. Or you have an option whereby if you know that you're going to send out self-assessments to, say, graduates or interns, you can assign people as beginners. If I just click on that, I'm just going to highlight that at the top of the page, we actually describe what we mean by a beginner. Okay, so anyone that falls into that category you can assign. We've then got advanced beginners. This one again with details, somebody with experience but less than 4 years. We've got digital professionals, senior professionals, and what you currently have is the ability to assign the whole framework. So that's how the system was originally set up. It's still there if required, and for anyone that you've already got going through the system, that's where they will have been assigned to. In terms of allowing self-assignment, we believe this is a really good option because people get a list of different levels of experience to select from, and then immediately afterwards they'll get the surveys that are relevant to their experience. So we can assign people to self-assign themselves, and then in the emails and tracking, a little bit of difference here that we've got this additional item which is request self-assignment, and it's basically an email invite, slightly different to the ones when we're sending them direct. So this one here, a much cut down version with a link obviously to an instruction video and a link to the actual surveys. And once they've completed that initial survey, they then become assigned as either a beginner, advanced beginner, etc. The difference that makes is, for example, if you're a beginner and you select that option, you will get around 20% of the survey size that you would have got previously. So we're looking at around sort of a 10-minute completion time. If you assign yourself as a senior professional, then that's more like around the 70%, the size of the total survey that you would have previously had. And again, it reduces that sort of average of an hour down to around sort of 45 minutes. So quite a big change based on some good solid analysis of the data. The way that we've structured the surveys based on that experience is quite sophisticated. It really is going to do two things for the user experience. The first thing, of course, is they're going to see skill levels that are relevant to their experience and not others. And then once they've completed the surveys, it is more likely to be a more condensed view of their skills. So it would prevent somebody that's a senior professional selecting, say, a level 1 skill, which clearly has not really got much value in terms of career development. So quite a big change from that point of view. I'm just going to pause for a second, and then we're going to come back and I'll show you what it looks like from an end user point of view. Okay, so before I go into the end user view, what I've done, I've just created a dummy user in our test system here. So I've got this one here, Paul Collins. I'm just going to highlight that, and I'm in the allow self-assignment. So I'm going to say that Paul is allowed to self-assign. Okay, I'm then going to request self-assignment, so basically send out the invite, and you can see that my name here is highlighted. So all of this exactly the same. Can edit the email template, and I'm just going to send that invite. And then I'm going to pop over into the invite itself and show you the end user view of that. Okay, welcome back. So I sent that email to myself, and I've got the email here. This is the template that we've built. So just a note here to retain this email so that you've got access to the link going forward. We've got a link to a tutorial that explains to the end user how this new self-assignment works. So we click on the link as always, and that takes us into something that is slightly different. Previously, you would have had a list of all of the surveys. If you have chosen to assign people to the particular level of experience, they will just go straight in and see that list that you have sort of determined for them. This is where we're putting power into the hands of the actual end user and allowing them to select their own level. So it's a single question, should only take around 30 seconds. I'm going to go into that question. And basically what we've got here is a description of how to select your level of experience and then definitions of what we mean. So we do have a link here to provide more assistance in terms of what we mean by these different levels. And we've got 5 options from really just starting a digital career through to a senior professional, and then the final option is the existing option where you can have the whole of Sophia if you want to go and explore and use that as a bit of a learning exercise. So again, giving people the opportunity to select whatever suits them. I'm going to select the beginner one just to give you an example of how this has changed. So what happens is when I select, I'm immediately presented with the surveys relevant to that level of experience. So this will be different depending on the selection. You may or may not notice, but the number of questions here is around about 20% of what you would have got if you selected the whole framework, and everything else is exactly the same. So the 3 surveys at the top are mandatory, and then the others are optional and you can skip them. But if I go in, you'll see the difference here. We'll get started on strategy and architecture. I'm presented with the first subcategory, but only the skills that are relevant to this level of experience. So that is a much cut down version of what you would get if you were a senior professional. And again, if I skip through to the next one here, this subcategory I think probably has 5 or 6 skills, but we're only showing the one that is relevant to someone that is just starting their career. And then once you go into that survey, we're only going to be presenting the skills at the levels that relate to this level of experience. So you're not going to get every level of this skill. You're just going to get the ones that we've determined are the relevant ones based on the data that we analysed. So that's obviously quite a big difference. Everything else remains the same. There is one final difference, and I'll show you that. Again, I'll just pause while I flick across to it. Okay, so this again, another upgrade to the user experience. Once somebody has been through the surveys, it really should be considered a provisional version of their skill profile. They've just gone through the surveys. They may want to then review it and add and remove some skills. And what we've now done is we've built into the report that the version 1 of the report is classed as provisional with an instruction on how to engage with the profile and make changes and review it. This again is specific to the level they selected. And if I scroll down, a slight difference to the way the legend is presented. We just made it much more readable now. So competence, proficiency and knowledge, color coded and with the appropriate letter, obviously from an accessibility point of view as well. And you can see here that's presented as always in the table below. Hopefully you find that useful. If you have any questions, of course, either info@skillstx.com or you can contact me directly, paul.collins@skillstx.com.